Well, hello and good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, March 26, 2024. Welcome to the only show about Spartan Dawgs, hosted by Spartan Dawgs. This is Sparta MSU, and I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-host, Cedric Swervin Irvin. If this is your first time, we want to welcome you to the show. We're going to be in for a little treat today. If this is not your first time, thank you for your loyalty. We really appreciate you all more than you know. And please don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. It helps us a whole lot. We just need that. And don't forget, hey, look, head over to thissparta.com for any of your gear.
Yes, sir.
So you be like Swerve. He got something coming.
It's hard to be like me, but you can be close to me. You can't be me. You can be. Hey, Scrap, I'm watching that intro, man. I love the intro, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's about that turf we had to play on.
Man, that was nasty, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't look at the nice turf grass they got now. Ooh. Not just that. Then I can't wait till we have Plexico on because I want to ask him, how did you run routes in them big-ass Reebok shoes we had to play in?
Man, was they hard?
This is what I'm saying. We set the foundation for this new generation. Hold on. You heard that?
Oh,
we set the foundation for the new generation. Bars.
You got bars. Straight bars. I mean, we got to call up Diddy. Maybe not. Maybe not.
You call him.
Is it too soon? Don't know what's going on with that as of right now. But look, hey, man. That is something I do get a little jealous of, I think, when I see that turf that they have now versus what we did your joints used to hurt, didn't you, afterwards, after we played or practice on that?
You know the worst part though, when you got skinned up.
Oh man.
And that red color beater. Oh, that was the worst. Now these guys, they got the little sleeve they put on to protect it. We had none of that.
We had none of that. Hey, you knew about them little skin things on you when you would get in the shower. Them boys would be hollering, wasn't they?
Not just that though, straight, because people don't understand. The locker room. Remember our locker room? It was like high school lockers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now they got the chairs that go back and they put the head up. They got the you can put your helmet in something. You can warm your helmet, your shoulder pads. Come on, man.
They living, man. I'm happy for them.
Man.
You don't like it?
I ain't happy for them.
You don't like the fact they do that. You got it like that.
It's too needy. And they still want this and complaining about that.
Now, that is a big problem. You can't have no entitlement, when they get it like they got it, man. Because they
think about the lockers we had. And I mean, towards the end, they end up getting a new locker.
But does the generation before us feel like that about us? That's the thing.
It's great. We had to take they hand me down. This
in the stadium.
This generation.
Yeah.
Our generation is still bumping gun with the generation before us.
Yeah.
But this new generation, everything's handed to them. Give it to them. No, we had to grind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think everybody got a choice to grind, I mean, from parental standpoint.
I want to know if the new coach going to walk from Kellogg's or they going to get the push scooters. I ain't talked to him yet, but I need to talk to coach. Are y'all still got a condition where y'all going to walk or are y'all too cute to walk?
Push scooters. The ones that's all over campus. They going to stand on the board.
It's happening. Why not? Straight. They got everything else.
Right, that's a deal they get. They got everything else.
I can see somebody saying now, if I got to walk to the stadium, I'm a transfer. You gonna do what?
What?
Yeah. I can hear one of them kids saying that. Oh, you know what? I don't want to walk to the stadium. I want to be like Clemson, get off the bus and just go right there. And we took pride in that walk.
Yeah, we did. Yes.
I remember when we used to walk, it's always, this lady, man, she always made the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
She would be right there giving them chocolate chip cookies. I miss that lady. She was so nice.
She was nice.
Oh,
I remember that my man that used to rub the ball, had the ball out there, the old
one. Right.
Yeah, I still see him from time to time in the parking lots. Yeah, he out there.
But you know what I thought I thought that was, now I ain't gonna say clever, but remember it's Michigan week, right?
Yeah.
And how people used to sleep out there by the Spartan. I couldn't believe that, man.
Why?
I just couldn't, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that take a whole lot of pride within your school and love within your school to sleep outside the statue and knowing that it's rivalry week, that somebody will do, you know what I mean? It's just like down in Alabama when dude took the tree from Auburn or burnt the tree down. Dude went to jail, you know what I'm saying? So
they killed a 200-year-old tree, something like that. Yeah.
When I saw that as a freshman, man, and people out there, I was amazed, man.
That makes you feel a sense of pride, coming from Miami, Florida. That was something that was foreign to you, right? To see somebody that had that kind of pride.
Right. And it changed my mindset because at the time, you know, I'm a freshman. I don't really know now. I'm just doing me. But to see that, I saw that like, you know what? That's pride in your school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody, just a fan, just a regular students getting together, and the Spartan, the mascot. I mean, he led the way, but to see those people out there doing that, man, I just thought that was amazing.
I mean, and then I know because you obviously talked to Mateen a lot, and you know this just from being around the program. I mean, they stood outside and they camp outside for Spartan basketball tickets.
Right.
You know, the students do the night before. And Izzo goes out there and sleeps with them every year.
Easily. I mean, I can see Izzo doing that, man. Izzo down to earth coach, man.
Yeah. Is that something you would do, man? Would you sleep outside with the fans? Did you get stuck? I'm like,
I thought I had you.
You was gonna have to breathe. I guess not. That's a no.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not no woods outside type of person. Put me in the house. I see you playing when y'all come inside. I ain't doing this. I'm doing this. Come on inside with me. I'll be here waiting on you.
Man, hey, man, look, we got to get into it because it happened over the weekends where you both Michigan State men's and women's ranked number 9 went into a battle against North Carolina. You know, the men in the second round, the girls and the women in the first. And the men lose a tough one, man, 85-69. And the women, they dropped their game. It was a close one there because they came back within, I think it was 2 points at the end of the game, but lose to North Carolina 59-56. So what do you think about, you know, the men's game? First of all, like when you look back at that game, I know everybody was on text message groups, chats, all kinds of stuff during that game, if not literally in person doing some stuff. But, you know, how did you watch the game, first of all? And then, you know, how did you feel it went?
So when I watch my basketball games straight, and especially Izzo time, I'm by myself, right? And I'm going to tell you this. We went 4 minutes and 30 something seconds without getting a basket in the first half.
Yeah.
We was up. Right? We went 4 minutes without getting a basket. Right? And then also just watching the game, North Carolina got some easy layups back door. Right? Yeah. And then in the second half, the bigs out hustle our bigs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they made the shots. They got hot from 3-point in the second half. And when they got the momentum, it was over when they came back. But you know, 25 big dude had a big first half. The guard was hot at the beginning. You know, we just couldn't sustain it and finish.
I know. You know, you look at the Spartans, you know, and their total. When you look at the box score, Tyson Walker had 24 as he normally does. Malik seemed like he balled. I mean, he had 17 points and 9 boards. It's just that, you know, there was some things, like AJ Hogard, point guard, that you count on. It's just tough for the senior in that moment. I mean, he comes away with 3 points and 3 boards on the day, on the evening. And it's just, you know, not to single anybody out, but it just seemed like this team, you know, had a lot of, obviously, top 5 ranked team in the preseason. but kind of underperformed, you know, during the season because of, like you just described, not hitting shots and then, you know, defensive breakdowns at times. But when you look at the future and guys, players like Xavier Booker, I mean, what do you think about Michigan State as they kind of regroup from this and try to get back to where they typically go, but go deeper into next year's tournament run?
You know, even at basketball as a whole, like right now, like if you watch the draft this year, I don't see a big name that had a big college season this year for me to say, okay, he came from a powerhouse school. Or I can't name 5 or 10 like for show lottery picks. So what I'm saying is I think basketball, as you see, like Kentucky get knocked out. Yeah. I just think it as a whole is even. You know what I mean? It's really no, you know, even though Duke may have the most 5 stars, them in Kentucky, but those guys not proven yet. So to answer your question is, I'm hoping that the young guys that we got, you know, because there's 3 ways you learn in life: watching, listening, and doing. If those guys sat back on that bench or the lack of playing time that they have, did they really learn something? Right. To come out and perform and take them from a, you know, just not a 32 to a 16 or to a final 8 or whatever it may be. That's going to be the key.
Right.
You know what I mean? Did the young guys learn for anything from this past season where we can stay in the top 5 or stay in the top 10, battle in the Big Ten Conference, and then get ready for the tournament and fight?
Yeah.
Do we have that superstar player? I don't think we have it. You know, so as a group, we got to find a way to get it done.
Collectively. And why do you think that is? You have a program in Michigan State, especially with a Hall of Fame coach like Tom Izzo. You would think that Michigan State can get any player they want. Like, it's just, you know, there's been a lot of talk about Izzo and his reluctance to get into the portal to find pieces, you know, since he did that with both Joey Hauser and Tyson Walker. But now, you know, do you think that he says, all right, look, you know, it's time for me to go portal hopping or shopping? Or is it something that, you know, maybe he needs to change the style of player that he's looking for? I mean, you know, you have fears that's coming back next year after the injury, the shoot being shot. But, you know, there's some pieces there, but, you know, you're always looking for that one thing, and everybody wants to know about the big man. Swerve.
You got to go in the portal.
Yeah.
Because it's just like I saw a sports analyst say the other day, these freshmen is not getting it done. They're not ready to compete in basketball with these guys that's juniors and seniors.
Right.
Even redshirt juniors and seniors. You know what I mean? Guys that been there. So you're not getting the elite guys. So if I'm not getting the elite guy, that freshman that's ready to come in and do it now, I got to go in the portal and hope I can get a guy that's, because if you're in the portal and you get a chance now, you got to be hungry. That's how coach is thinking. Yeah. You know, it's the reason why you in the portal. You know what I mean? So if I get you out that portal, you know, you got to be hungry.
Yeah.
You got to play with some kind of desire and determination that's different, because it's a reason why you was there. You know what I mean? And all of it ain't about money. Some people just forced out because you either not playing or you weren't good enough or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Everything in the portal is not about money. No. You know what I'm saying? I know some kids that
close.
Jumping in the portal, I'm going to give it a shot. Oh, they ain't played me, or I ain't get the opportunity. There's a reason. So even when we go, if coach go in the portal, we got to find the right guy out of the portal.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. You know, you need to find. So, yeah, Izzo goes portal shopping this year to try to get to where he was this year. You know, I think that, you know, when you look at the overall body of work, you know, the consistency out of Tom Izzo is just something that's amazing. You know, 26 years in a row, even in a down year like this, it's still not what, I mean, this ain't bad. You know what I mean? 20 wins and some great quad one victories along in the year. But, you know, obviously always want more. But what do you say about Tom Izzo and his ability to adapt and stay consistent through over a quarter century?
That's the key word, Mr. Consistency. You know what I mean? He find a way. You know, he gets those guys to play the type of ball that he wants to be played. You know, and it just so happened you got to think, you know, but you also got to have the Jimmy and the Joes now. You got to have them. You know, I can come in, I can preach discipline, I can preach toughness, I can show you the X's and O's. But if you ain't got it in your heart to go out there and compete, Hey, well, it's gonna be a long season, and that's why we had the ups and downs because we really had that dog that you can just count on to either lift some people up, make that big play, or just be that player that you go to. You know, that's why you got to do it by committee, and we got to find those pieces.
I mean, yeah, like the championship team. No, I mean you were there, 2000. You knew the players very well, and you talk about it a lot. That's where you talk about there's no star players. Like there, I mean, there was a lot of stars on that team. You know, it was you had some great players that played a long time in the NBA, but you know, it seemed like the whole team had its own little piece of stardom, if you would, especially like the first 6 players.
But you got to think with that team, you had a leader within Mateen Cleaves.
Yeah,
like a born leader who played with passion. You know, who pull that guy to the side and get in his face. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, they respected him, and he earned the respect. He played with his heart. He played hurt. You know what I mean? He talked trash. He practiced hard. So if you got a guy like that and he's speaking the right stuff and he's showing you too, shit, I'm gonna follow that. And everything just came into place. And they had the right pieces. You know what I mean? You had a Peterson in the coach. You had the guys, the 3s and the 4s. And then you had the general get in there and also hit his shot too. And then to play some defense. But then if you did play defense, you got somebody that'll get in your face. I don't see that. I don't see that when we call a timeout, that guy that's getting the team together. And I don't see it. No. So if you ain't got no leader, you got a bunch of followers following each other, you're going to be out like we was out.
Yeah. Hey, that's great points where, hey, listen, that was a great team, a moment in time. Everybody talks about the Flintstones and everything, but it was different. I didn't realize like how long it was going to be until you saw a team like that. I didn't realize how rare that collective group of guys really, really was. And glad to have been able to witness that, but also happy to know those guys. Swerve, let me tell you something.
That's the key there, brother. I'm telling you, I look back at it, man. You look at a guy like, I'm always say Mateen Cleave because he was the general. He was the guy that put the people in the right places. He got the ball to the people in the right places, and they followed him.
Yeah.
But he was the guy to be followed because, like I say, he played with heart. He talked this talk and he backed it up. And he did it. He was consistent with it. So you had a general on the floor that was leading the way, and then we had the pieces in places. You know what I'm saying? Them guys just fought. If you didn't beat them at the beginning by 20 and just take the game away, you was in trouble.
Yeah,
you was gonna find a way to win. And then you got to think. Since then, we haven't won. We knocked on the door. Final 4 here. Lead 8. This and that, boom, boom. But why we never got over the hump since Mateen Cleaves?
Right.
We never found Mateen Cleaves. But we had a 3, we had a 4, we had the Valentines, but we never found us another Mateen Cleaves.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Those are hard to find.
You know what I'm saying? Think about it. We done had some big, we done had the Draymond Greens of the world, you know what I mean? But we haven't had that Mateen Cleaves that'll get the job done. And I ain't being biased because, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the team that got locked out because of COVID make it into the playoffs. They were playing pretty good at that time, but we won't ever know that. But what we do know is that we had a special time in East Lansing over the weekend. I mean, had hosted 2 Big Ten championships and, man, came away with 2 victories. We're going to talk about that with Spartans Illustrated's own David Harns after these messages from our friends over at IHOP.
IHOP has tons of omelets, so you can have omelets for breakfast, brunch, dinner, or even a brittle of the night snack. Try the new meaty, cheesy, and crispy mega omelet and add cinnamon dippers for $1. Only at IHOP.
Well, without further ado, we got to have a guy over here who knows all and, man, had one hell of a weekend. We're going to talk about what Spartans Illustrated's own David Harns did this weekend while hanging out in East Lansing on a great, beautiful weekend for Michigan State athletics. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, David.
He's muted. Yeah. Ain't nothing but a little technical. Oh, it says that I guess Mike isn't connected. Meanwhile, we got said.
Got to get the people what they want.
Let's see.
But anyway, by the way, that IHOP commercial got me going. Ooh, IHOP.
Walk you through it. Talk to us. Working on some technical difficulties. So, like, talk to us about, what's going on today with the 7-on-7 tournament that everybody's been talking about. Like, a little bit about that. You see Cam Newton involved in, people seeing Cam Newton out there, but there's a lot of former NFL players coaching teams with 7-on-7. Talk a little bit about that and how that's helping players in high school at the high school level.
First of all, I'm 50-50 with 7-on-7. And I say 50-50 because, it's really just for quarterbacks, receivers, and DBs. A lot of guys use DBs for linebackers and, on offense, they don't really use the true running back. But it's a good thing for competition. And when you talk about the NFL guys, a lot of NFL guys that sponsor teams, but you got a Cam Newton who actually coach his team. And I have a team right now that we just won the championship in Battle Atlanta last week. My team is Raw. Yeah, Raw. RAW. You can look us up on Instagram. We're one of the hottest teams out right now. We matter of fact, it's so big, Stray, that April 5th is going to be on the NFL Network.
Oh, man.
So and one thing I can say about the 7-on-7, it produced a lot of kids to get offered with these guys recording with the highlights and things like that, the catches, and in a sense, to get, like, say our team is just not a Miami team. Like our quarterback is from Texas. He's committed to TCU. You know what I mean? So we get guys from all over, bringing them together for the tournament. And what it does is you got these guys that got 7-on-7 teams that reach out to different recruiting colleges to let them know about certain kids. So it do help your recruiting as well.
Well, that's great. I think we do have David Harns back. Are you up, David?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
you mean to tell me, Trey, hold on, Dave. Hold on. Give me a second. You mean to tell me we got somebody from Sports Illustrated on the show?
Spartans.
Oh, no. We Spartans everywhere.
Spartans Illustrated. Good.
Not sports, Spartans.
Hey, D, everybody call you Dave. I call you D. I got to get my gray all the way. I got a little dark, but you got it all the way. It looks sexy, brother, and I can say that still stand strong. You know what I mean? I like
it.
Thank you, sir.
Man,
Thank
you got your Santa Claus, man. It works. I can't grow it. I'm a little.
Yeah, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody.
I know it ain't for everybody. David, talk about your weekend. I mean, you were in East Lansing for a couple of Big Ten championships, and I saw it. A lot of it was documented on your Twitter and obviously at Spartans Illustrated.com. But talk about what it was first to see the gymnastics program pull off another Big Ten championship, this time in the tournament.
Yeah, and just to back up even a little bit more, we kind of had to make a choice as to what this weekend was going to look like, for Spartans Illustrated, because the men have obviously, we knew this was going to be opening weekend, and that the men were going to be somewhere else around. They're not going to be local to play, and so was I going to go down there, or were we going to stick around for? We knew the women gymnastics team was going to be playing for a championship. There was a chance that the men hockey team might be as well. And so when it came down to it, Kyle and Sydney from our team, as well as Greg, went down to North Carolina, and then myself and a couple others stuck around here. And so I was able to go to both of those events on Saturday night, one right after the other, is kind of surreal, actually, to be requesting credentials for 2 championship events on the same night in the same city, separated by a fifth of a mile, if you will, like 1,000 feet or something. And so obviously the day started with the gymnastics. They had 2 sessions over there. They had the early session, which was the bottom 6 teams in the Big Ten. And then the evening session was the top 4 teams. And so the bottom 6, they kind of did their thing, and they weren't expected to challenge for the championship, and none of them really did. But then it came time for the evening session, and it was they introduced all the gymnasts to a raucous Jenison crowd. It was packed. I mean, the whole place was full, and there was fans from all of the other 9 other universities that have gymnastics programs in the Big Ten, and but it was really full of Michigan State fans. And about 30 minutes before the meet, I should say, started, I took my camera and I walked around Jenison, and the line was all the way down to the baseball stadium. And that was, still 30 minutes before the meet started. And so it was a hot ticket. The regionals, the Big Tens, they rotate around to the different schools. And it just so happened that this was the year that Michigan State got to host, and Alan Haller and his team, they really knocked it out of the park. They had that Jenison Fieldhouse was looking great. Kind of like when I remember it as a kid watching basketball there. I was like 8 years old and remembering, watching the games there, and it kind of brought back a little bit of nostalgia there. But it was filled with, lady gymnasts who were doing their thing, and it started out where the each of the teams start on a different apparatus, right? You've got the beam, and you've got the floor exercise, and you've got the bars, and you've got the vault. And so Michigan State started out on the floor. And if you're not familiar with gymnastics, you kind of have to realize that each team kind of is better at certain events, or they get higher scores at certain events. So you can't really just keep track of the score, right? It's not like basketball where, like, hey, you've got 10 points, the other team has 8 points, you're winning by 2. Where in gymnastics, not only are they counting in decimal points, but they're all doing different events at the same time. So you're comparing this team's floor to that team's vault, to this team's beam, to that team's bars. And so it's a very complicated sport for those who aren't very familiar with it. I've been covering them for about 3 years now. And so I've kind of created my own little cheat sheet going in as to what I expect the score to be after the first rotation, that whole type of thing, what it should be after the second. And so then I can kind of look and see, MSU's overperforming a little bit or underperforming. And so, if all of the teams did all of their average scores, then Michigan State was going to win. And that never happens, right? Some people overperform, some underperform. Michigan was supposed to be the team that was challenging MSU for the championship. They've won the last few. They've always had a pretty decent gymnastics program, but
it was Minnesota, right?
Minnesota's the one that ended up challenging them. Yeah. And as I was watching it, Michigan was kind of, they were doing about what they were supposed to do, a little bit below average, but Minnesota was really doing well. And so, Michigan State was kind of keeping on pace with what it needed in order to win. But then it got to the last rotation, and it was, Minnesota was there for, coming for the win. Michigan, they are best at the floor exercise, and they were the number 4 in the country at floor exercise. So you knew that they were going to create, they were going to make up some ground on that last one, because Michigan State was going to be on beam, Michigan was going to be on floor exercise. So the idea was Michigan State had to build up a big enough lead in the other 3 events that they could withstand that last one. And so that's what I was watching for. And so, when you get, for those who aren't aware, gymnastics, you put 6 players up, and then you keep the top 5 scores. So the idea is, if you can get 9.9 for all of them, and then you get like a 9.95, and that one knocks down a little lower, one of the lower scores or what have you. But what you don't want is what happened to the Spartans. Their first beam, when the meet was on the line, right, and they needed a really good score on beam to win it, and their first athlete got a very bad score, a 9.25. If that score was going to stand, then Michigan State, there's no way they can make up that gap. So what that meant was that there was 5 gymnasts left to do the beam, and all 5 of them had to knock it out of the park, nail their score. There was no room for error for them. And so while Michigan was finishing up on the floor exercise, because there was a little bit of a delay, Michigan State was one by one knocking down those performances. And that beam is like the width of my phone. It's like this wide, and they're doing all that fancy stuff on there. I don't know enough. Go ahead, Cedric.
A person like me with fat feet, I couldn't do it, right?
I'd like to see you up there, Cedric. I'd like to see you up there on the beam. In fact, that would make I'd meet you anywhere you want to videotape that. You let me know.
These feet too wide and fat, man. I'm like Fred Flintstone, brother. I can't do it.
I like to see Jason do the vault too. So while we're at it.
God. I mean, I did that when I was a kid, about 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so we didn't do it then. We ran up to it and stopped.
So back to the beam though, and Skylar Schulte gets up there. She does her thing. A couple others do their thing, but then it comes down to the last performance of the night, and all eyes are on the beam because all the other events had already finished, right? So the packed house is looking to see, will Michigan State get a 9.8 or so, and that will win, or if they get below a 9.8 on this, then they will not win, and Minnesota will. And so Gabby Stephen gets up there, and what people didn't know at the time was that she had cut her foot before the event, before the night started, like a freak accident. And so she had like a cut on her toe. And I'm going to be writing about this on Spartans Illustrated coming up here in the next couple days. But she had a cut on her toe, and she performed the whole night. She did all 4 events with a cut, bloody toe that they kept fixing between events. And so, she was the one standing for MSU for victory there at the end. And so when she did her last pass on the beam, I think is what they call it, the crowd erupted, and all she had to do was nail the dismount, and Michigan State was going to win. And of course, she nailed the dismount, and everybody was happy and celebrating. And then you just kind of watch the huddle, right? And they're just waiting for that score to flash up on the board. And as soon as that score flashed up there, they knew that they had enough to win, and the place just erupted. And there was just, confetti flying and everyone jumping around, and it was pretty epic. Man. Yeah.
That's what's up. She was a Spartan Dawg. That's when you get the it's going through my body right now.
Yeah. It was.
You gotta have the grit like she had in the finish, and you was talking like a movie. You know how the movie waiting 3.
Do we have a video? I don't know. I think we might have a video.
Oh, okay.
Earlier in the evening, there was quite a crowd across the street at Jennison Fieldhouse as Michigan State hosted the Big Ten Gymnastics Championships. The Spartans won the Big Ten regular season title, but have never won the Big Ten championship meet. They held the number 1 seed, and Michigan, seeking its 28th Big Ten title, was the 2 seed. The Spartans out on floor and did what they do best. Nikki Smith was just about as close to perfect as one could get. She collects a team-high 9.925 to put the Spartans in front early. On bar, Skylar Schulte with a beauty of a routine, and she sticks the landing. She was your all-around winner today, the first Spartan to win the all-around at the conference championships. Minnesota made things very interesting, pulling within 0.5 headed into the final rotation. It would all come down to the final beam routine, where Gabby Stephen has nerves of steel, coming in clutch despite slicing her toe open before the meet. She collects a 9.875 and helps MSU make history once more. They win with a score of 197.600.
Man. Hey, thank you, Channel 6, for that. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
It was. And it's just really impressive what they can do. And Michigan State's gymnastics program has really arrived as well. Monday they gathered at Jennison Fieldhouse to watch the NCAA selection show. And they knew they were going to be in the field. Their expectations are no longer, hey, we got to make the NCAA tournament. We know we need to be one of the top 16 seeds, and they were announced as the 12th seed, which is actually a little bit lower than what they should have been, but different. The way they do it in gymnastics, like Michigan is hosting a regional, Florida was hosting a regional, and so those teams need to go into their. I think Arkansas as well. Those teams need to go into their pool, into their little pods, and so the seeding gets a little messed up for that. But the gymnastics team is a top 10 team, So they'll play April 5th and April 7th down in Gainesville, Florida. April 5th, they've got there's four teams that go, and the top 2 advance to move on to Sunday. And then on Sunday, there's going to be 4 teams, and theoretically it'll be the 4 and the 5 and the 12 and the 13 seeds, and 2 of those will move on to nationals, which is down in Texas the following weekend. So Michigan State hasn't made it to nationals, but only one time in the program's history. So that would be their goal this year. If they can do that, that would be amazing. Anything at nationals would be gravy, I think. Obviously everybody wants to win the national championship, but there's some pretty impressive gymnastics teams out there that they'd have to beat in Texas. So if they can make it to nationals, they will have had a very successul season.
So hey, just tell Gabby to mess up the other toe too.
That might be a good luck charm. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, where's the championship, the national championship? Texas, where Austin? You said?
I think it's in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Okay.
Yeah.
All
yep.
Right. And
the
first round is
they're going to Gainesville, Florida. Yep.
Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah. So they'll play there. They'll play there on Friday, Sunday, and if they advance out of the regionals, only 2 teams advance per regional, and they make it to the nationals, and then they do the same thing there. They have 2 pods of 4, and then the top 2 from each pod advance to the championship on that the second day. They take a break and then they play again. So yeah, I mean, Mike, their coach is pretty excited. Mike Rowe, he's a good interview, and he's always talking and singing his girls' praises there, and he's really built a championship culture. And the nice thing is for them, they've got good recruits coming in next year as well. So this isn't just a flash in the pan. They've made the NCAA's 3 years in a row. They've won the Big Ten regular season 2 years in a row. They won the tournament this year for the first time ever. So they're on a roll.
Dave,
it sounds like they got something rolling, Swerve. I mean, they might have their NIL collective must be the one.
But now I want to ask you a question, because I never see being in Florida. I never seen we never had gymnastic teams. So what do they do to recruit from? Is it a travel team? I don't know many high schools that have gymnastics as a sport.
Yeah, I got to admit, I've started covering gymnastics in the last 3 years. I've yet to get digging into the recruiting. Obviously Rivals doesn't have a big recruiting, database for gymnasts yet, but that information is out there. I know that Mike is, he looks everywhere, and now he's not having to sell his program anymore. He's able to kind of pick and choose the athletes that he wants to come here, because Michigan State has been able to establish themselves as a place where, I think it's only been a couple of years, but they beat Michigan 3 times this year. And Michigan had a national championship program a few years back. And so, Michigan State's really taken a hold here in the Big Ten and making themselves a place where recruits are going to want to go play.
I mean, it's incredible. To your point, you asked a question, Swerve, about where do they do it? It's a lot of club gymnastics. I know in the Midwest area where I was born and raised, and where we lived so many years in Michigan, it's huge, man. It's just not as publicized as the main sports, the revenue sports, so to speak. But my goodness, I mean, from the Olympic training, they have the little tumblers all the way up to the Olympic training, man. And it's a big time industry. That's a good idea, David. You talked about rankings. Maybe they should. There's got to be a ranking system or something out there. So
there is. Yeah, there is. Another website has kind of filled in that gap, and I'm just not familiar enough with it. I do know that they have 2 good recruits coming in, and those recruits have been in the stands, this year as well. I think they were at the Big 5 meet a little bit ago, and maybe some of them came to the Big 10 championships as well. But it's just like any other program. You need the athletes to to perform, and then you also need to coach them up. And Mike's staff does a great job. And if you ever go to a gymnastics meet, watch the assistant coaches and what they're doing, and all they're kind of, doing their thing. And it's just an impressive all around, performance from all aspects of the team. Mike's talked about how he's got an abundance of athletes this year, and he can only choose 6 per event. And so, it's a tough choice. And a lot of the girls are like, hey, we understand you've got tough choices. but make them do what you got to do. We're here to support the team, and so it's been a good program, and it's been a great year for them. But that was just the beginning of Saturday night.
Yeah. How did the rest of the night go for you?
Right. So, the gymnastics meet went down to the very final second, right? And then we hung around, we did some interviews. We got, Coach Rao, and we got, Gabby, and we talked to Skyla, and then they did the medal presentation and all that stuff. And then it was time to walk across the street, across Kalamazoo Street there. And I actually did this little time-lapse video, and I put it up on Twitter of me walking out the Jennison doors, across the parking lot, across the street, and into the Mun Ice Arena doors. And, it's just a few-minute walk.
Video?
What's that?
Do we have that video?
I'm not sure.
I do remember that video.
Back here in East Lansing, the fan bases have been going crazy in anticipation of last night's Big Ten Tournament Hockey Championship game between Michigan and Michigan State. The storylines are straight out of a movie. The Wolverines are the two-time defending tournament champions. The Spartans are the program that's made a remarkable turnaround and now looks to wrestle the title away from the old guard, their arch rival. The Spartans went 3-1 against the Wolverines in the regular season and, of course, won the regular season conference championship. But Michigan wasted no time setting the tone last night. Frank Nazar flutters one past Trey Augustine on the Wolverines' first shot attempt of the game. Michigan up 1-0 in the opening minute. MSU answers back later in the period. The puck squirts out in front. Tanner Kelly is right on the doorstep to jam it home and tie the game. Then in the second period, the Wolverines turn it over in their own zone, and a blast from the point leads to a rebound opportunity. Daniel Russell puts it home to give the Spartans the lead back. We jump to the third period. MSU clinging to a 4-3 lead. Dylan Duke's shot from the point somehow finds its way in to tie the game. They'd credit the goal to Nazar on a tip-in. We head to overtime at about 14 minutes in. Patrick Geary snipes one from the blue line, and the celebration is on. For the first time ever, the Spartans are Big Ten tournament champs in a wild game that lived up to every bit of the anticipation.
Okay, that was the whole game right there. We talked about your Twitter video before, so I didn't, apologize for not having it, because that was a great time-lapse kind of video.
Yeah, no problem. Everybody can go to Spartans Illustrated, and we've got that on the webpage there. You can take a look at all of the videos and pictures that we took that night, and it's all in one article. But when I walked into Mun Ice Arena, I saw the scoreboard. Michigan was already up 1-0, and I was like, oh man, that's a rough start. But finally got settled in, got to my media spot, which was overflow because they had so many people there. We're usually able to get a couple, reporters in, but this time we were limited to one reporter, one photographer, because the place was packed. As soon as I sat down in my seat, Michigan State scored the equalizer. So I said, hey, I have the good luck charm, I guess. But, you think it when it's 1-1, they go ahead and they get their second goal, puts Michigan State in the lead. And I'm thinking, okay, can they hold on here? Needless to say, there was a lot more goals to be scored. And the end of the second period was pretty intense. Michigan State was up 2-1, and Michigan scored 2 goals within like a minute or a minute and a half. And so they took like a 3-2 lead. And so everyone was kind of, the air was let out of the building. But then with like less than I think just a minute 7 or a minute 15 or something like that to go, Michigan State scored to equal, to get the tie there. And then with 0.7 seconds left in the second period, they fired one home. The crowd was not even done cheering for the goal that tied, at 3 when Michigan State scored and made it 4-3 going at the end of the second period. They had to review that one to make sure it got in with, less than a second to go, which was pretty crazy. So Mun Ice Arena was going nuts, and then Michigan quickly got an equalizer in the third period to tie it up at 4. And then they played the rest of the game out, no goals. And so everybody kind of looked at each other. They knew what was coming, which was, sudden death overtime. And if you've never been in a hockey arena for sudden death overtime, that's something else. It was electric. It was every shot was like everybody was just moving, and it was the game could end at any second, any shot, any thing in front of the net. And so the crowd was pretty excited, pretty hyped. And then, of course, the final shot came, right inside the blue line, right in front of the Spartans bench. We learned after the fact that the third string goalie, shouted out, to the guy who scored it, shoot it. And he did. He ripped it from far away, and in it went. And the crowd just erupted. You could just see it just from that end, and then it just, cascaded all the way across over to the student section into the band area where I was sitting there to kind of take it in. And the celebration was just raucous. And I got a little bit of video on that on our website as well. You can see some of the celebration there. It was a pretty intense night all around. If you take a look at the fact that both matches, the hockey game and the gymnastics meet ended basically with the last performance of the night. For the gymnasts, it was that dismount from Gabby Stephen. For Michigan State hockey, they needed that goal in overtime, and then the matches, they were over, and it was in an instant, and it was drama as much as it could be. And to have that happen on campus, 2 hours apart from each other, maybe 3 hours apart from each other, and both teams to take home, their first ever postseason championship in the Big Ten on the same night. It was a storybook, and Alan Haller, he and his team put together that day. They knew that they had to host it. They brought in extra people to, extra comms folks, extra facility teams, team members. They were there in the morning. They stayed all the way till midnight. All of the people who were doing, just the behind the scenes work and everything to make that day happen for both of those teams. And I tell you, you can't get more disparate sports than gymnastics and hockey, right? You got the grace and the elegance, and then you've got the rough and tumble hockey, but they both won, their championship on the same night, and they both had put in so much work over the last, several years to get to this point. And they both have a coach who's turned around the program. Adam Nightingale has really, he's such a calm and cool, collected guy. And he's got that program going in the right direction. And if you sign up for Spartans Illustrated, you can follow along. We've got Jeremy Dewar as our hockey insider. He's always updating on the recruiting. Michigan State's hockey recruiting is doing great. They're going to have this again is not a flash in the pan. They're going to have a solid roster for years here. And so, Nightingale just got rewarded with another contract extension. And so things are looking up. It's not just football and basketball in Michigan State anymore. You've got championships being won all over the place. And that's not to even talk about the tennis team. I mean, the men's tennis team won 2 matches over the weekend as well, Friday and Sunday. So they started off Big Ten play 2-0. So, yeah, I mean, Spartans Illustrated, come on over. We try to cover, as many of the sports as we can. We can't do it all, but we sure try.
No, man, you do a phenomenal job. The
Great job,
great. Hey, man. And obviously your ability to get from place to place in a short period of time, that was great. Thank you for being in shape so you can make it from Jenison over to Munn as fast as you did, man. You didn't. It was
funny. It's funny is there were a lot of fans who did the same thing. Fans who had hockey tickets who started off at the gymnastics meet, and it worked out perfectly because they had a half an hour to make that switch over. There were some parents. I know the Lebster family had a gymnast on the gymnast team, and then I think it was their nephews on the hockey team, relative it somehow anyway. So they, you get to see them at both venues, and the fact that both teams won, I don't think you could write it any better.
No, not at all.
I wonder how the after party was.
I was too tired. I had to get home and I had to write it all up, and then I just crashed. I didn't get to sleep until 3 a.m. that morning.
Oh man,
I'd have been out there like I was on the team.
I know. I'm sure they were definitely excited though. And what's fun is there were football players at the gymnastics meet. They were they all support each other, and it's fun to watch that too.
Yeah, nothing better than that. You said it, and hats off to Alan Haller and his staff for putting that on, because, I mean, Michigan State was on display this weekend. It sounds like, from all the looks and all the reports that I got back there, it was a phenomenal weekend. And maybe they can make a plaque about this. It is a Hallmark type of movie. It's Disney, more Disney than Hallmark. Right?
Yeah. It was an epic night.
So, Dave, you got to put me in the movie, Dave.
All right. You got to be in there.
Yeah.
That's one of the ballerinas. No, I'm sorry. The beam guy.
A beam gymnast. That's who you're going to be.
With the fat wide feet.
The fat wide feet. Now, thank you for coming on the show, man, and giving us that update. David,
Absolutely.
as always, you know, people, where can they find you again? Spartans Illustrated?
Yep, SpartansIllustrated.com. If you also just search Spartans Illustrated and Rivals, you know, we're the Rivals affiliate here in town. You know, we do cover football, we cover basketball, we cover all the recruiting. We've got a great staff who does all of that. You know, we've got Carter Elliott and David Klein and Sam Tyler on the basketball side. We've got, you know, lots of football minds as well, including you know, some of the names you'll see. You know, Matt Sheehan's on the team and some other folks too. So come on over, Spartans Illustrated. Sign up. It's $10 a month. If you need a discount code to get started, just shoot me a note, SpartansIllustrated@gmail.com, and I'll get you a discount code to get going. But we'd love to have you over.
There it is. Got to have it.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much again for joining the show. Hey, man, we'll see you again really soon, David, because we got a lot to talk about here in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. See you around, Cedric.
My man, Dave.
All right. David Harns, Spartans Illustrated. Swerve, man. That was a great weekend. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, the basketball teams didn't perform to the level that we would have hoped. You know, we talked about the women losing too, as well as the men, but we did have two bright spots with gymnastics and hockey winning on campus. Big Ten titles, man. What an epic night on Saturday.
And winning at the end, too.
Yeah.
Both of them. Love the way how Gabby did the flip and she just stuck it. Boom.
Like you were stuck. You wanted to be stuck again. You got us. Cedric, you've been getting us all day today, man. But no, I appreciate you, brother, getting on here and making this happen. Look, David Harns, special thanks to him at Spartans Illustrated, always bringing us in-depth coverage of what's going on in the marketplace when it comes to Spartan sports. Man, Said, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Hey, when we come back on Thursday, we got to have the updates with spring football.
Ooh, okay.
Come back. We got to come in with some.
You got to let them know what's going on.
We got to make some calls. We got to get the scoop. We got to get the fans what they want, because everybody's like this. Everybody just, you know what I'm saying? We want to know how the spring is going, what we looking like, what we looking for.
Oh,
you know, who's doing what.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
we're going to have a football show. We get into the football. We'll get into the football on Thursday. Let's do that. It's time. It's been time.
Right.
You know, we also have, you know, we got to talk a little bit about baseball too. So special guests coming on, as well as recruiting. You know, we're gonna have somebody on to talk football, not recruiting, but football, spring football, and also baseball. You know, because we gotta give everybody a little love, Swerve. You know what I mean? And when they're doing good, you come right to our desk. The people from up, guys that say we got to talk about it. Jason, Swerve, you got to talk about these people. And they telling us we got to talk about baseball next week. Thursday, not next week, just in a couple of days. So we'll see you then. Swerve, hey, man, I appreciate that. That was a good point. We're going to bring that to them. So for Cedric Irvin, I'm Jason Strayhorn. This is Sparta MSU. Everybody have a good night. God bless. And go green.